David, it's a massive week for Northern Ireland. On Friday night, they play Slovakia at Windsor Park in a World Cup qualifier. And then a few days later on the Monday night, Germany are in town for another World Cup qualifier. But let's start with the Slovakia game. It's the first one up. And Slovakia are top of the group. It's a huge game for Northern Ireland, for Michael O'Neill's men. They're coming into this off the back of a 3-1 win over Luxembourg and then a very spirited performance in Cologne against Germany where they lost 3-1. How do you assess your chances going into this game with Slovakia?
Well, let's briefly recap on the Luxembourg and the Germany game, Keith. Luxembourg was most impressive on the night, and I remember sort of saying in one of our previous podcasts, the skip in the step that we enjoyed from that excellent performance against Luxembourg, because there are those who still would regard Luxembourg way below us and should be easily beaten, and that's just simply not the case, and it's not the case in modern day football. So full praise to Michael O'Neill and to the players. We then went out to Germany and thought, okay, can we do what we have done, on occasions before? And it was going to be a really tough ask because Germany didn't start particularly well. But on the night, we equipped ourselves so well. And I remember reflecting on how the players were after the game, and they were genuinely disappointed that they didn't, get at least a point. It wasn't one of those ones, we're proud of our efforts. It wasn't a died in the boots sort of comment. They were genuinely disappointed because they did ever so well. And when you break it down to the goals that we conceded, even down to their winner, which was a free kick, which never was. Okay, it was an outstanding, free kick that won them the game. But, that gave me so much hope then going forward, because they were genuinely disappointed that they didn't get more and that they expected to get more from themselves individually and collectively. Slovakia are coming off the back of having beaten Germany.
Well, that was a result that shocked all of us.
Well, it was, Keith. Because we were sitting back thinking, well, that's okay. If Germany can go and do a job in Slovakia, and that was probably the result that we didn't want. Prior to that game, the feeling would have been, well, again, it'll be a tough contest. There's no doubt, but Northern Ireland should come out on top. But they're a different animal. To beat Germany at home was a pretty impressive result. However, I am one of those who are very positive, who are very hopeful, who are going back to the Luxembourg game and obviously then the reaction from the players after the Germany game. There will be a focus, an absolute focus from the players. And there's a point which, has been made and made very, very well about Michael always goes on, and quite rightly so, about wanting players to play at the highest level they possibly can. And we're beginning to make comparisons now, to the players who are playing in the Premiership compared to the beginning of the 2016 campaign. So given that, additional Premiership experience which our players have, I'm not just hoping but quietly expecting us, that being Northern Ireland, to get a result against Slovakia on Friday evening.
Well, there was some good news for Northern Ireland, or maybe some bad news for Slovakia, if you prefer. Stanislav Lobotka, top-class central midfielder who plays for Napoli in Serie A alongside Scott McTominay. They won the Serie A titles, the Scudetto, together last season. He's out of Friday night's game, and David Hanko, who is the left-back for Atletico Madrid, a really top player, scored against Germany. He's doubtful. Is that a boost for Northern Ireland that this top player is out and possibly two of their best three players will be missing?
I think on the surface and superficially, maybe. But regardless of what level of football, if a player is out injured or unavailable for whatever reason, that gives opportunity for someone else. And I would imagine, whoever's going to come in, they will be wanting to make sure that they are not giving a cameo performance, that they want to give a quality performance. So I'm not overly sure, Keith, that it's going to be such a big boost. For me, when I'm looking at the game, And we've talked about, Northern Ireland and what we did against Luxembourg and how we felt, in the aftermath of the Germany game. That's all very, very positive. But take it from, Slovakia's point of view. They've gone and beaten Germany. No, who expected that? Even though they're going through a difficult or transitional period, even though, I think it was our great friend Stephen Beacom said Germany are not the side that they were. They're still Germany, and Slovakia has beaten them. So they will be very much saying, listen, guys, there's no point us going and doing what we did against Germany and then coming to Northern Ireland. And their level of expectation will be right up there. They will be looking to come and get a result over here at Windsor Park on Friday night.
Yeah, I think the great news for Northern Ireland as well is that Dan Ballard's back. That's a major boost.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll come back into the centre defence. I suppose the biggest decision for Michael O'Neill is possibly who plays in that number 9 role, that up top. It's Jamie Reid would probably hold it. You would imagine he's most likely to start. But might you look there's other options out there, of course. Callum Marshall's now played a game for West Ham in the Premier League. Josh McGuinness is back in the squad. I think he's unlikely to start. But there are options there for Michael O'Neill.
There's other options there, Keith, but I think
Dion Charles would be another big shout for that position.
And here's the blessing for Michael. I think he will be consistent in his selection. Michael is trying to create, competition as you do at club level, for places. But it means that you've got plan A, plan B, and plan C, and it is very much about the game day squad. It's not just a starting 11. It's what you have, because on any given day, things maybe mightn't work. Players mightn't hit the standard that you would want them to. So I'm delighted that we have the options that we have, but I can't see Michael deviating, to be brutally honest regarding to that position.
Good to see Josh McGuinness back in the squad.
I'm delighted. Personally delighted. I absolutely love Josh McGuinness. Okay, he's one of the last of the kings of Leon, as he's fondly described. I listened to him earlier in the year after a cup game, and he was captaining Exeter, and how he was so supportive of his manager, how he saw his role, and it was very much about team, not about himself. What Josh will bring, is this wonderful, personality, but he's such an encourager. He's such an example. He's been there and done that. All he wants is Northern Ireland to do well, and he brings that positivity. And who would know, if you need maybe in the last 10 or 15 minutes to put a big man on to go and ruffle a few feathers, well, I think he is more than capable of doing that.
Monday night, Germany in town. Obviously, we played them in Cologne, gave them a hell of a good game. Obviously, Germany came out on top in the end, 3-1. Is this the time that Northern Ireland can beat Germany at Windsor Park? Is that possible?
There's part of me that's saying yes, it's possible, and but that would be me being blinded by the fact that Germany are not silly. They know that we put it up to them big style, and while they eventually came out on top, they know that if we'd been a little bit tidier in our defensively and a wee bit, more clinical in our finishing, the result could have been reversed. I can't see Germany. I wouldn't suggest that they made a mistake, but I can't see Germany not learning from that experience. And I think they will come with very much the German attitude, is that we are expected, we have to deliver, and they will be clinical. I'm hoping that feeling of not getting what they deserved is still remnant within the Northern Ireland players, and so they will go out and give it loads. But just a word of caution. I think Germany will learn from their game against us, and they will be at their clinical best.
Yeah, people say it's a poor Germany team, but it's a poor Germany team by their incredibly high standards, and they're a massive country with world-class talent all over the pitch. So
I think that, Keith, that's a good point, really well made. I think at times folk get carried away. Yes, they are maybe not the Germany of old, but look at the Germany of old, and even look at still the players that they have available to them today. So, hopeful, but let's not get it carried away. And let's not put, unrealistic expectations on our players. If we come out, if we could beat Slovakia, and if we could even get a point against Germany, I would be whistling Dixie. If we get 3 points against Slovakia and are beaten by Germany, I'm still whistling Dixie.
Final point: we want to see an amazing atmosphere, don't we, at Windsor Park on Friday night, on Monday night. I wrote a piece there during the
Excellent
week.
piece, by the way.
Well, and some people disagreed with it, but a lot of Northern Ireland fans agreed with it as well. Is that the atmosphere in the last 5-6 years since the stadium was redesigned hasn't quite been at the level it used to be when you remember those famous nights where David Haley scored all those goals. We want to see that atmosphere back on Friday night. We want to see the stadium bouncing.
Keith, your piece was excellent. You give a great insight to your student days and the affordability of going to a Northern Ireland match, and also the event that it was in the night, with I think a half decent curry on the way back home again. I don't know, at Windsor Park, it is only Windsor Park properly when you have all of the support behind the team. And yes, you look at the demographics. Maybe there's not as many young people are able to go. You talked about the affordability. I think we need to remind ourselves what makes us great, and what makes us great as a country are the people of the country, and what makes us great is when we're all together. And I have such a sense of togetherness in terms of how I listen to the players we have coming now, how they love to come and play for Northern Ireland, how they want to represent Northern Ireland. And these are the lads who are here through, whether it's their mums or dads or their granny or grandads, whatever. There's a collectiveness about them. So I genuinely think that with your call to arms, I will be surprised if there is not a reaction from the Northern Ireland supporters. Understand this, they are key. People talk about supporters being the 12th man. Northern Ireland are not just the 12th man, but they're the 13th and the 14th, 15th and 16th. Such is their passion when they get going, and I desperately hope that that is the case, because the help that will give in these two games will be absolutely ginormous.